Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network and the Sales Confidence Lab. It is Friday, November 14th. If you have not joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And if you have joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I do a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. Fortunately, our guest just showed up. I wasn't sure if he was going to make it, but he is here today. So I'm going to bring him to the stage and I'll introduce him. He is the founder of Factor One, which is a unique business advisory for six-figure entrepreneurs looking for some extra support to help them level up quickly. He calls himself a fancy pants business consultant. I'm going to have to ask him about that. And he's worked with more than 5,000. Look at this guy. He's only 10 years old himself, even though he's got a beard. But he's worked with more than 5,000 entrepreneurs. He's also the founder of VAIQ. I'm going to have to ask him what that is too. Please welcome today's guest, Josh Thomas. Good morning, Josh.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks, man. I slid in right on the hour, you know.
Perfect timing, because I didn't hear back from you. I reached out to you in a couple of ways, didn't hear back. I thought you weren't going to show up, but I'm glad that you're here, my friend.
Sorry about that, but here I am.
Excellent. So before I get to the 1,000,001 questions I have for you, Josh, why don't you give us the 2 to 3 minute version of your background? What brought you up to this point?
Yes, sir. So I basically was a high school teacher a long time ago, and that was great. It was very competitive. I really enjoyed it. But no matter how good I got, no matter how good I taught high school band, and we were very competitive. No matter how many competitions we won and how many awards we got, nobody paid me anymore. Got the same amount of money no matter what, and realized that wasn't a permanent path for me. And so I gave up the security of a state salary and benefits and to really just royally fail at entrepreneurship for many years. And then, eventually you figure some things out, and you get pounded into the sand a few more times, and you figure some more things out. And as long as you keep getting back up, things start to work out for you.
I like hearing that. And no more summers off.
No more summers off. Yeah. It's the weirdest. It's like a trick, because you're not necessarily getting the summer off. Like, you already worked for all of that money that you made. They're just like taking it out of your other paychecks and giving it to you later.
Yep. But at least you don't have to go to school every day during the summer.
That's right.
There can be some beach time, which we can do anyways. So I always look for acronyms, and one of the things I came across when I always do research for these interviews, I go to people's LinkedIn profiles and their websites. What does VAIQ stand for? What is that?
Yeah, so VAIQ is we were looking for a short and clever way to describe a virtual assistant placement service, and so VA is virtual assistant, and we added IQ because, well, we feel like we're the smart choice for placing it, because the way that we do things is just a little bit different than a typical agency. The main difference is I've been working with international VAs for a little over a decade, and the thing that I notice when people fail at this, a lot of people have come to me and said, "Hey, I didn't have a great experience when I hired a virtual assistant." And it comes down to either really wasn't the right person to begin with, or they weren't put in the right environment to succeed. And the things that I can control, I can make sure you find the right talent. But if I give you the right talent and they're not properly managed and supported and trained, it's going to fail anyway, right? So what we do is we create those guardrails to make sure that not only does the client succeed and not have to become an HR manager, but the VA also has, arms wrapped around them for support, SOPs, accountability, and kind of like that sort of daily assistance that they need to not feel like they're isolated on an island. And so that allows us to operate a lot more intelligently.
Oh, got it. Yes. We actually might need to talk, because I had a VA for a little over a year, started out great, progressively went a little lower downhill. And at the end, I had asked them to take care of something for me and gave them specific dates when things had to be done by, and it wasn't happening. And I started screaming via email and threatened to fire them if they didn't get stuff done. And instead they fired me because they didn't like to be threatened.
Yeah.
I thought I was inspiring them to get the job done. And in fact, they were saying, you know what, maybe it is a good idea that we part company, Jeff.
Well, you're bringing up a really good point here, and this will universally apply. Like whether it's a virtual assistant or a human employee, or if you're just a solo entrepreneur, there is this term that is kind of the common enemy of all of us, and it's called operational drift. And what operational drift is basically like, I got an idea, I'm going to map out everything that I need to do, and here's all of the steps. And then you follow those steps. And then the next day you're like, yeah, I might try this a little bit. I don't know if step number 6 is really necessary. Well, last time and you keep doing like kind of cutting corners here and there, just because our brains are trying to be as efficient as possible. 3 weeks down the road, it's unrecognizable from how you started. It's kind of like when we were kids and we played the telephone game.
Sure.
And somebody says, I like pink elephants. And then on the other side of it, it's like, your mom is fat or whatever. And it's like, wait, how did we get there? And operational drift is one of those things that even if you're working by yourself, you've got nobody to hold you accountable. Now it's really easy to drift. But with a team, hey, here's all the instructions. But human beings typically need that kind of daily check-in. They need that support. They need that kind of environment where they're in this group where they can bounce ideas, but they have those guardrails. And if you don't have them, that's when we drift. And that's usually why most people struggle when they're hiring VAs. And it's usually why most people, entrepreneurs specifically, struggle to stay on track, because they got a million ideas and it's hard to stay in the right lane.
Yeah, they did really, I won't say excellent, but a good, very solid, good job. Certainly well worth what I was paying for a long, long time, until I was launching a new service, and there were specific deadline dates that things had to get done by, so I could start the marketing and all that stuff, and it just wasn't happening. And you know how that goes. If you're launching something on January 1st, you can't start it on December 15th. There were specific dates, and I got more and more, angry and panicked. This isn't going to work, and it's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. And it ended up doing that because it just didn't work out. But maybe we'll talk further. I want to move on, though. One of the other things, and I know you do many things, I know you work with people in funnels. You actually got a program or a company called Conversational Funnels, and I'm not sure everybody understands. So could you please explain, what is a funnel, what's it used for, and what is a conversational funnel?
Yeah, certainly. So a funnel is basically just an online mechanism that takes a stranger and puts them through a process to where they become a buyer. And so if you imagine a funnel that you would use to take a bunch of liquid and put it into a small space, that's basically what it is. We add people into the top that are kind of unqualified, they're unaware, they don't know what you do, they're not sure if they want to do business with you. And then through a process of education and nurturing, we get them closer to going down the pipe, down the chute of doing business with you. An example might be if you are scrolling through your social media, and probably if you're on Facebook these days, probably like every second or third post is an ad. And those ads are going to be the entry to all of these different funnels. And so you're going to see an ad that says, hey, would you like to have, whiter teeth? And you're like, yeah, my teeth are kind of yellow. I don't know, man. And you click on that ad. Now you've entered a funnel. And what happens on the other side is, hey, here's a new way to whiten teeth that isn't going to like take away all of your enamel. And it's this ancient Moroccan tribal technique that nobody's ever heard of, but it's a miracle cure. And you're like, oh, wow, that sounds really good. And you're moving further and further down their funnel. Oh, and you find out that it's Dr. So-and-so, and he's been doing this for 30 years. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. And your funnel is taking through the process of basically taking you from a stranger and saying, okay, now I understand what this is about. I understand how this can solve my problem. You've taken the risk away. I'm going to click on this button and give it a shot, because I really want those white teeth.
And it could be, give us your email address and we'll send you a report on white teeth. And it's everything that it takes you through till you become a client.
That's right. Yeah. So you're either going to buy right there, which we recommend these days, because there's so much, free stuff and there's so much noise. We typically are just trying to get a customer right away, because if I can get somebody to pull out their credit card, even for $10, then the chance of them becoming a higher value customer is 10x what an email address alone would be.
So you're a big fan, I'm assuming, and it sounds like, of, you start with a small product or service and you gradually build your way up. Start with like a low value item, like 10, or like you said, 10, 20, $30, and move up from there.
So there's this concept called the ascension model. It's basically what you just described. And it's like, hey, let's get somebody to pay $5 and then they'll pay 50, 500, 5,000, et cetera. It's a great theory. In reality, it doesn't typically work like that. What typically happens is we'll get that $5 purchase and then it'll go from 5 to like 5,000. Or we'll go for a direct offer that says, hey, book a call and let's talk about doing business together. And we've never done anything with them, and they'll pay like 5,000. And I think the reason for that is people are either ready. That's like a very kind of solution aware audience. They're either ready or they're not. They're like, okay, yeah, I'll give you $5. You know what? I like that idea, but I don't want to do anything. Like, I don't want to do the work. Can you do the work for me? I'll just pay you a bunch of money. That happens a lot. What doesn't tend to happen is, all right, this is a cool product. What's the next thing I can buy? And the next thing and the next thing. It's a great idea. Like, it just isn't a straight line of the ascension. It's more like, a little dot and then a big shift.
Gotcha. What is you work primarily with entrepreneurs, and I consider salespeople to be entrepreneurial. I consider all salespeople to really be in business for themselves, even if they're working for a company. Like, one of the companies I'm working with right now is a payroll company, and I always tell the sales team that I'm managing for them, look, you work for the company, but it's Bob at the XYZ company or Dave at the XYZ company. But you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. What's the number one enemy of growth for entrepreneurs, and how do we slay it?
There's several, I would think. But if I had to pick one, it's fear. So many people are afraid of making a mistake. They're afraid of looking dumb. They're afraid of getting burned again. They're afraid of success. They're afraid that if they go out there and they actually take a risk and it fails, that somebody's going to look back at them and say, you see, I told you couldn't do it. Yeah. Like, that's a real fear in everybody's mind, whether they admit it or not. They're kind of afraid to be proven right, with all that doubt in the back of their head. Like, man, if I do this and it doesn't work, I can't I can't blame anybody else. Like, I've run out of excuses, and that keeps people stuck. And honestly, I'm not going to tell you there's some miracle cure for that, because there's not. Lots of therapy, it probably is a good start, but I would say the first step to neutralizing fear is accepting that it's real, and being aware that it exists, and being aware that it actually drives the overwhelming majority of all of your decisions. And it's and I don't want to go too deep on this, Jeff, but can I go like one layer deeper?
Of course.
So there is an instinctual survival based reason why we are wired so heavily with fear, and it has everything to do with 200,000 years ago, when we're roaming the prairies with the saber-toothed tigers. We are hardwired with these chemical balance systems in our brains that that reward us for doing things that increase our chances of survival. Serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin. These are these reward chemicals that our brain like squeezes into our body when we do something right.
The happy chemicals.
The happy chemicals. That's
Yep.
right. Yeah. There's a book by Loretta Brunning called Habits of a Happy Brain. Highly recommended. That it should be required reading. Like we should have read that in like 6th grade, but it basically talks about all of the evolutionary reasons why these chemicals are there. And when you understand that, you understand, oh, I'm going to go over here and scroll on my phone because I really want that dopamine hit. Oh, I'm going to go and join this mastermind or this group or this coaching guru because it gives me a boost of serotonin, because serotonin makes you feel like it makes you want to be in a crowd. It makes you want to be around other people, because if you're in a tribe in the prairie, your chances of survival go up, and so when you start understanding how that stuff works, you start understanding how much it drives our behavior, because our brains haven't had an upgrade, like a firmware upgrade since then. Like we're still operating on caveman brain. It hasn't changed.
Lizard brain, right?
Yeah, lizard brain, right.
Where everything was life and death. And it's not today, but we still react as if it was. Yeah.
But we still believe it is. And so we can't turn that switch off. But what we can do is we can know that the switch is there, and we can put some kind of blockades and barriers around it to harness that switch and only use it when we need to, because it's sometimes just, it works against us.
Yeah, this is a concept I teach salespeople all the time when I'm talking about closing a deal, and I want them to understand that brain science. This is not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just the way the brain works. When we're making a buying decision, the brain automatically thinks of the negatives first to try to protect us from making a bad decision, from looking bad, being stupid, wasting more money. I mean, as you were naming the different things, when you said, I've been burned before, I don't know if you saw, but my hand went up, and it definitely stops me from doing things that maybe could help me do what I need to do. But it's like, oh man, I've been burned so many times now. I don't want to look stupid again. And up front, I don't care about looking stupid, although I know I do, but it's really, I've just lost so much money, stupidly. I don't want to do that again. It's rough, and it is hard to get past. And at some point you do just have to take the chance. Look, if you're crossing the street in traffic, it's smart to be afraid because you don't want to get hit by a car, but business, you do have to take a chance occasionally. Yes.
Sometimes you just got to run through the red light. I saw a post yesterday from Russell Brunson that said, people don't buy your product. They buy certainty, safety, and progress. And it was so ironic that I saw this because I have a service that I'm working on, and I'm trying to refine the sales process a little bit. And what we came down to was, as we're reviewing all of these calls, the reason people are slipping out the back is because our pitch does not give them the certainty and the safety that they're looking for, because it's a very, very competitive industry. And so it's like, well, we just sound like everybody else. And if you sound like everybody else, you're not creating certainty. You're actually creating more confusion, because now they have decision fatigue, right? And so the thing that we're working on now is, okay, how do we describe this one thing that we do that is wildly different than everybody else? Everybody says they do this, but they don't do it like we do it. And if we can clear that up, then we create certainty. And if we can create certainty, then they've got like an anchor that they can lean on. Yep. And then I saw that post, and it was just like, it's like sometimes the universe just puts in front of you what you need to see.
Yeah, I spoke to a friend of mine just the other day who I've interviewed twice for this because he's so brilliant. His name is Michael Leibowitz, and calls himself the mind magnetizer, and he uses neuropsychology to help people craft their message. And he says it's all about making people safe for the exact reasons you just said. We're still operating out of the lizard brain, and our marketing message, our website, everything we say and do when we're selling has to be designed to make the prospect feel safe. Because when we feel safe, then we do move forward. But it's all about that. You said something else, and I'm pretty sure that I'm right on target with this, but I love the thought of it. You said everything is your fault. And that's actually a good thing. Why is that?
Yeah, I've done so many stupid things in my life, Jeff, and I spent a long time just trying to find a way to get the pressure off of me. And one day I had to take responsibility and just like, man, I can't control what somebody else does. I can't control what the universe hands me. I can't control nature, wild animals, somebody else driving down the street in their car. I can only control myself. And, if I can take responsibility for every single thing, then that puts me in control. So, and there's extremes to this. Like, all right, I'm just sitting in a bar by myself and somebody walks up to me and just sucker punches me in the face. Well, it wasn't necessarily my fault, but I was in control of where I was, and like, all right, don't go to that place anymore. That was your fault for being there, and then there's always there's victims, like people who are victims of violence, and like, well, it couldn't have possibly been your fault. No, you're right. But if it's not your fault, what you do after it happens is now your responsibility. So you couldn't have controlled what happened to you, okay? But you can now control how you react and handle it. And that is, if you don't do that, if you don't change that, and if you keep yourself in victim mode, then it does become your fault.
Yeah, you have no power. There's great power in accepting that you actually are responsible for everything in your life. And it's far easier to blame outside circumstances, other people, the situation. But really, when you realize that really you're in control of your life, if you accept that responsibility, it does give you great power. It's not easy when you do that, but that's the way to move forward.
Well, let me say one more thing about that, because I think this is important for anybody that would be listening to this. You mentioned earlier about your all caps email to your VA.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, something was off, and something was off balance, and something wasn't aligned. And maybe it was on you, and maybe it was on your guy. But what you can do is you can own it and be like, all right, I'm the boss, I'm in charge. I need to go and reflect back on where I broke down as a leader and go and reinforce it. And that's not like, I don't even know what happened, right? But that's an exercise that it's like, nobody wants to do that, but it's like so healthy for everyone involved. I have a team of 10, and we meet every morning. And there were a couple of days in a row where like 2 or 3 of them were just like, just going in the wrong direction. And I was so frustrated with them. But what I really had to do is I had to step back and say, okay, it looks like I'm failing as a leader right now. So please tell me what I need to be doing differently. Help me diagnose this so that I can give you what you need. And I said it through my teeth though, like, like I said that, but I didn't want to, but it was the right thing to say,
Absolutely, positively. And responsibility and accountability are 2 different things, but they're similar and they're related. How does accountability impact performance? And I'm very big on that everybody should have an accountability partner. Can you speak a little bit about accountability and performance?
Back to that concept of operational drift. Without accountability, everything drifts. Imagine you're in a boat on the open water. And if you put up the sails and you've got the motor and everything, and you're actively pointing the ship towards the island, you'll get there. If you do none of that, you're going to go wherever the wind blows. And the accountability is that constant monitoring and constantly checking to make sure that your boat is heading where it needs to go towards the destination. Because it's natural, because of these outside forces that are out of your control, they're going to cause that drift. It's going to happen. You can't avoid it. And so the only way that you can control it is to make these little micro corrections as needed. And that's where accountability comes in. There's a huge difference, for instance, between what I would call reactive management and proactive management. Reactive management is, I'll check in with you once a week or, once a month or something, or here's an email address.
Call me if you need me.
Yeah. Here's an email address for support if you ever have, if something breaks. It's like we're there, but we're like a safety net, and we're like 50 feet below you. On the other hand, if you're proactive, it may seem like a lot of extra work, but you're catching all these little things like within minutes or hours, and you can fix a small problem with a tiny fraction of effort than it would take to fix the big problem next month. And so that's where, when I was talking about the VAs, we got to meet them every day. And that takes a lot of extra effort, but man, it produces 10 times the output if we're all heading in the right direction, because otherwise they start to drift and they go in 17 different directions and we lose the efficiency. And what do we want? Do we want to have people just be completely autonomous and just kind of wandering around, or do we want to get them to the destination? And the way to get them there is to make sure that they're focused every single day. And accountability keeps people on track. It keeps people doing the things that they need to do. And it keeps them from cutting corners, wasting time, and just not basically showing up to work without a purpose. And when you show up to work without a purpose, well, what am I even getting paid for anyway? So we got to keep them on track.
Gotcha. Speaking of destinations, there was a picture in one of your posts that caught my eye immediately. You went skydiving. It looks like it might have been in Dubai.
I don't think that was me. Sounds cool.
There was a picture where you said you were free falling from somewhere, no?
No, I don't think that was me. But maybe it was a really good looking guy that looked like me.
It was in your LinkedIn feed.
Oh, okay.
I saw it this morning. So you've never been skydiving?
I've never been skydiving, and I've never been to Dubai, but maybe somebody hacked my LinkedIn and has a more interesting life than me.
I'll go back afterwards and I'll share the picture with you. It looked very cool. I was going to ask you why did you go skydiving and what did it teach you? So I guess we can't talk about that.
I totally agree. Yeah, I can make up something if you want.
I have been skydiving twice, including last year. What do you think it would teach you if you did?
I've always told people that I was afraid of heights, but in fact, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of the ground, because the ground is the one that's going to kill me, Yeah.
It's not the jump out of the airplane.
No. And I remember when I was a teacher, one of the parents was a professional skydiver, had logged 2,000 jumps or something. And I was like, no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. And then she says, well, at the hangar where we go and do the jumps, there's a big phrase as you walk in the door that says, there's no such thing as a perfectly good airplane.
It's funny you say that. The first time I went skydiving, which was years ago, the very next day I went on vacation. And as I was getting off the plane, I think in St. Martin or someplace like that, the captain and the flight attendants were there, bye-bye. And I thought I was going to be very impressed when I said, hey, Cap, I just went skydiving yesterday. Any good places around here I can jump out of an airplane? And he said exactly what you said. He goes, why would you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And I walked away with my tail between my legs.
Speaking of St. Martin, I've been there. Speaking of St. Martin and airplanes, there's that, whatever the name of that beach is, where you can just stand there and all the 747s fly right over your head. Dude, that was a weird experience, man.
Incredible.
What an amazingly bizarre little island out in the middle of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and if for anybody who's listening, if you just Google it, and you'll see videos of people just standing there. The airport is like a block off the beach, so the airplanes come right over your head, and it's monstrously huge in your face. It's pretty darn cool. We're about halfway through. We're talking to Josh Thomas. I'm Jeff, the founder of Factor One, and we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, which is me. Hey, it's Jeff. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, The Sales Pro Network. But I'm here to talk about something else today. Are you a coach, consultant, creative, a solopreneur, or small business owner? And maybe you don't like selling. Maybe you think in order to sell, you have to be sleazy or pushy or salesy. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be. And in fact, I've created a 12-week live program just for you. It's called the Sales Confidence Lab, and we meet every week for 2 hours. And during those 2 hours, I'll give you both the mindset and the skill sets to enroll more clients more confidently. You'll do it naturally without any sleaze, without being pushy, without corny scripts or anything like that. I'll teach you how to have natural conversations that result in more people enrolling with you. If you're interested, drop me an email at jeff@salesconfidencelab.com. We just finished the first 12-week program, and both the reviews and the results were outstanding. The next program starts on January 6th, so if you're interested, drop me a line at jeff@salesconfidencelab, and I'll get back to you with the details. All right. I'm excited about the Sales Confidence Lab. It really did exceed my expectations. When you start something new, Josh, I'm sure you know how it goes. It's like, gee, I hope this works out. I hope I can deliver great value. And the reviews have been amazing. And just the report, hey, Jeff, I've already increased after 4 weeks, it's a 12-week program. After 4 weeks, one of the participants emailed me, I've already increased my close rate by 25%. I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect that. So it's really excited. I've really worked for the last 20 plus years with professional sales organizations, and I've switched my focus to what I call the accidental seller, somebody who doesn't really, like a coach or a consultant. They didn't go into business to sell. They went into business to serve. But my thing is, you can't serve unless you can sell. So I'm pretty excited about that. One of the things,
I want to give you a plug on that, because everybody who starts a business has to be a salesperson. You have to sell somebody on the idea that this business is worth starting. You have to sell somebody on the idea that you're worth paying money to. And we kind of like throw sales to the dogs, but you have to be good at sales, period, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. And I want to ask this guy that had, the boost in 25% close rate, without giving away your secret sauce. Like, I want to know, what is that thing, if somebody is an entrepreneur and they're like kind of shy about sales, what is that one little nugget that you found really makes the difference in getting somebody over the hump to start closing more deals?
Yeah, the nugget is you have to have a process. And first of all, the people who are typically in this program so far are accidental salespeople. They don't want to sell, so they've never learned how to sell. So they go into every sales call with no idea of what to do, or no idea how to, kind of like you described funnels before. How do we take people through a journey that goes from hello to yes, I want to do business with you, or no, I don't want to do business with you? And that's what gives people confidence, because what I give them is a very simple, straightforward system that's not pushy in any way. I know I come across as a type A, and I'm excited and all that stuff. And I am both a type A and I am excited. But when I'm selling, I dial this way back, because there's no push. There's no need to be pushy. If you and I were in the same room right now, Josh, physically, and I physically pushed you, what would you do?
Well, it depends on how hard you push me, because I'm a little bit of a pacifist. But yeah, I would definitely put my guard up.
Well, and you most likely push back, because that's what we do. If somebody pushes you, you tend to push back. Why would I want to give somebody a reason to push against me when I'm selling? So it's really giving them the step-by-step process that I've used for almost 50 years, and that I've taught tens of thousands of professional salespeople all over the world. And the other thing that's really cool about this, that I didn't realize this was going to be so important, is that I'm not just doing the teaching. I'm not just sharing the information. Everything we're doing, we're role playing it in the program in a very safe space. Professional salespeople don't want to role play, because it's embarrassing. What if I screw up? You talked about, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to screw up in front of my friends.
I'm exposed as a fraud, and
yes,
all of the reasons why. Yeah.
So in the lab, we're actually role playing with partners. Everybody has an accountability partner, by the way, that checks in with them during the week. So that's really what makes the difference. Giving people, here's step-by-step how I go from hello to close. How do I establish rapport with people? What are the right questions to ask? How do I make a presentation? How do I ask for money? That's where most people screw up. They're very uncomfortable saying, okay, and the investment is, because even professional salespeople have a hard time with this. They believe that the sale is going to be made or lost based on the price. I'm here to tell you, Josh, that's almost never the reason.
And
Almost
nothing to do with it.
occasionally, but almost never is it about the price. It's about the relationship you develop with people and the value that you bring to the table. But that's too much about me. I want to get back to you. Thank you for asking.
And I think that this is still kind of about me, but like I love this. I love this topic because it's a good jumping off point for another idea that kind of swirls around, that sales is the oldest profession, and some people say, hey, sales has never changed. It's all about getting an exchange of value, basically. But I would argue over the last 5 years, maybe even 10, sales has changed. And it's changed dramatically. And if you are selling the way that you used to sell 20 years ago, you are becoming a dinosaur. You have to adapt to the way that people buy now. And the reason why it's changed is not because people's brains have like reformed. It's not because like we no longer have those chemical reward systems and everything we're talking about. The reason that it's changed is because we've been bombarded with thousands of times more opportunities to work with scammers, to be promised the moon, and just our money just evaporates. And technology has made it easier to deliver those messages in front of our eyeballs, and it has made it easier for bad actors to extract money from your account and embarrass you. And it is 10 times easier to get ripped off now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Sure.
And so it's like everything's magnified. And how do we protect ourselves? Well, we put up walls. And you can say all of the features and benefits or whatever in the world of what your thing does, and all of the reasons why you should buy it. But if I don't believe you, if I don't think that you're going to take care of me, then it doesn't matter. Whereas you could probably push somebody into a decision a couple of decades ago. Now, they won't even put up the resistance. Like, I laugh every time I see some sales trainer talking about like how to overcome the price objection. Like, honestly, man, I've taken 10,000 sales calls. The price objection is like the least common thing that I run into. Like, I don't know, Jeff, you tell me. I've only heard that like 5 times. It's always some other thing. It's always some other like smokescreen or whatever. It's not like, oh, that's too much.
Yeah,
like,
well, I don't even like the concept overcoming objections. Nobody likes to be overcome. I teach a way to work through people's issues to help them choose to either do business with you or not. And, right in line with what you said is the internet changed everything for sales. So there used to be a company, I don't think they're in business anymore. At least I haven't heard of them in years, but it was Sims. And Sims was a men's clothing store. And the commercial used to say, an educated consumer is our best customer. Well, today's consumer, because of the internet, is way better educated than, like you said, 20, 30 years ago or 50 years ago when I first started selling. Salespeople have a bad rap, a bad reputation, and we get a bad rap because there used to be so many rip-off salespeople because you could get away with it because people didn't know. And the internet really gives all of us, first of all, you better be really responsive, because I know if I go to your website and ask for information, I don't get it pretty damn quickly. There's 15 other people who do what I do, what you do, or what somebody else, maybe not as good, maybe not the same way, but it's too easy to find somebody else. And, your price, it's pretty much all over. So today's consumer is better educated, and we've got to adapt the way we sell to take that into account. And it depends on which study you read, but most of them say that by the time somebody speaks to a salesperson, they're already 70 to 80% through the decision-making process. So the salespeople's role is different than it used to be. And we have to understand where we come in and how do we deal with a person who is better educated. Does that make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense to me. And really the other shift that's happened here is because we've been subjected to multiples of this kind of just pressure and bad treatment and bad actors, our defenses have gone so far up that what I noticed over the last within the last couple of years, really, is people would stop giving objections and they would just basically say, yeah, this is great. This is exactly what I want. This is awesome. Let's go. Let's do this. And then they just like vaporize, like they don't even put up resistance anymore. And they're just like, yeah, man, this is perfect. And it's this defense mechanism. Like, I don't want to get caught in your like objection web or whatever. So I'm just going to say I'm in, and then I'm just going to like run out the back real quick.
Right.
Not even like I'll think about it. Like, yeah. Send me the paperwork. I'm filling it out right now. And then they go.
Yeah, and
like that happened more and more and more. And the reason is they don't want to deal with your tactics. It doesn't feel safe for them.
Yeah, one of the things I teach in the lab, excuse me, is how to avoid getting ghosted. It's not even to the point where most people get to the end and say, "Oh yeah," and then they disappear. It's you present your proposal, your plan, whatever you're going to do for people, and then you never hear from them again. They're gone. And it's exactly like you say, "Oh yeah, this sounds good, Jeff. Yes, everything, but I just need to think about it a little bit."
Yeah,
it's. I think that if I hadn't ranked the objections that people give or the stalls that people give, think it over is probably the one that people hear most often. I think people still do get some price objections, but if you've built up enough value, that's why I said, it's almost never about the price. If you've built up enough value, the price becomes almost irrelevant. There are going to be people who, no matter how much value you show them, they can't afford what you've got. And I can't afford it is not the same as your price is too high. Your price is too high means you haven't shown me enough value. I can't afford it means I don't have the money. And look, I've got 50 years of sales experience, and I'm so good at selling. I teach other people how to sell, but I can't teach you how to get a sale if somebody really doesn't have the money. And to me, one of the keys that most sellers, whether they're accidental or professional, are missing is that if you are not consistently and effectively prospecting on a daily basis, because you talked about the funnel before, you've got to constantly be feeding the top of the funnel, because you don't know who's going to come through that bottom. And because of the shape of a funnel, not everybody who comes in at the top goes out the bottom. I'd love to find a funnel where that happens. I'd like to create that for the Sales Confidence Lab, but that's just not the way it works. I wanted to ask about something else because I'm checking the time and we're quickly going. And you're one of those people I could absolutely talk to all day. You help build business systems that deliver, and you use deliver as an acronym. I love acronyms. So what does deliver stand for?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I think I wrote that up 3 years ago. I don't remember, but it was really good at the time.
I'll bet it was, and I was dying to know. We'll have to get together afterwards, and you'll let me know. Here's something else that you say. You say that marketing isn't voodoo; it's science. That certainly makes sense. What makes you say that it isn't voodoo, and what advice do you have for people who are marketing today? So. Before you answer that, I want to give you my definition. My definition of marketing is it's marketing's job to develop leads. It's sales' job to close the leads. So something all salespeople or almost all salespeople want, including myself, is more and better qualified leads. So what's working in terms of lead development, and why do you say marketing isn't voodoo?
Well, when I started running ads, I realized how scientific marketing really was. Because there's this threshold that I think a lot of us are afraid to step over, and it's paying money for a lead. Because we've tried it before and it didn't work. We hired some agency and they didn't do crap for you. And, I don't want to get burned again. I don't want to look dumb again, et cetera. But all of that aside, it does work and it can be measured. You just have to do it correctly. And, I think a lot of people, when they're afraid to make that leap and take that risk, they get stuck in this, well, I'll just post some stuff on social media. I'll just do some cold outreach because it's something concrete that I understand. Like I understand if I pick up the phone and somebody answers, then I've got an opportunity. It's like nobody has to explain that to you. But the science part of it is even if you're picking up the phone and calling people, you can measure that. Out of every 100 dials, you'll get 10 live connects. And out of every 10 live connects, you'll get maybe one opportunity and, whatever your deal is. And then you can measure that. And then once you can measure it, well, if I make 1,000 dials, then I should get 10 times the results. That's the science part of it. It's not like the universe is placing a customer in front of me. No, man, you got to measure that stuff. As far as running ads, the science behind that is most people just throw money at it and hope that it's going to work. But if we take a scientific approach, we want to put a controlled environment to see what's going to happen. Whenever scientists are testing new drugs and new medicine, they don't just like inject humans with it. Well, not normally, but no comment. But most of the time, they're going to test it on rats or something like that, and they're going to put them in a little, enclosed area and just like look and see what happens. And if that goes well, then they advance the study and they go to the next thing and the next thing, and they basically expand the risk. Same thing with marketing. If I'm going to run ads, I'm not just going to throw like $5,000 at something and see what happens. Like, that's insanity. And it's a good way to lose $5,000. What I would do instead is I would write my marketing message and I would put it out there, and I would spend like $50 and see what happens. And I would see how many clicks did I get? Did I get a purchase or not? Anything that happens from my target audience is giving me great data. If I got a purchase, which ad got the purchase? I want to double down on that message because that's obviously resonating. Or if I didn't get a purchase, which ad got the most clicks? So then I can rearrange it. Or how far did they get through the funnel? Now I can tell which part of the message is working and which part is broken. And I can measure all those things in a controlled environment where, I'm out a meal at Texas Roadhouse instead of, a Kia, right? So that's the scientific part of it. Is you don't have to guess. You can guess like strategically, but once I know if I've spent $50, $100, $200 and I've got a little bit of data, now I know I can spend another $200 and I can repeat that. So now I'm starting to get this, what we call an acquisition cost, or cost to acquire a customer, or CAC, or all kinds of different things that you can call it. But now I know if I spend X amount, if I give the Meta machine $1, I will get $2 back. And it's reliable and predictable. Once I have that equation, once I know I can put in $1 and pull out $2, then it's just a matter of like, well, how many dollars can I find? Because I know what's going to happen. And I'm not just guessing. And I'm not just like waiting for the Zuckerberg gods to bestow me with cash. I'm just following the process because they have billions of dollars worth of technology and all the PhDs and all the IT and AI gurus out there building this system to make sure that they deliver you a customer. Because if they don't deliver you a customer, people are going to stop spending money with them. And that's how they make 100% of their revenue. And so taking that scientific approach with anything you do, including especially sales, but marketing, it allows you to reduce the perceived risk of going out there and paying for a customer. Because as soon as you can get that formula, now it really is no longer voodoo. I know that today I need to spend $100 because that's what's going to bring me a customer. No problem, because that customer is worth 10 times, 100 times $100.
Sure. And I teach the same thing to salespeople. I always say sales is both art and science, mostly art, but the science of it is exactly what you said. It's measuring your activity. How many dials does it take to get through to somebody? How many conversations do I have to get an appointment? How many appointments turn into a sale? What's my average dollar volume per sale? What's my average? There's a handful of things, and it doesn't have to be 8 million things, but a handful of things that if you measure them, you can pretty much achieve any goal. Because just like you said, with the ads, if 10 cold calls, just as an example, equals 1 sale, because that's how many people it takes to get through and get an appointment and so on, then if I want to make 2 sales, I guess I have to make 20 calls. I often say this because I like to. It's not rocket science, and I like saying that because my oldest daughter is a rocket scientist, literally. She's an aerospace engineer, but you don't have to be as smart as my Avery to be in sales. If you did, I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, what is the Do Zone? I was fascinated by that. What's the Do Zone, and what is a Do Zone DNA profile?
Yeah, so the Do Zone is my podcast. And I have, it's almost 4 years I started that. We've published over 300 episodes. And it's a podcast like this one, but it's a short form. It's a quick 15-minute interview with entrepreneurs, and we talk about productivity, getting stuff done, maximizing your output in lots of different creative ways. And I asked the same question probably 300 times. And tell me something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of. I asked 300 different people that question, and it's amazing that I got 300 different answers, and they were all right.
Wow. And what's the key to getting stuff done?
What's the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of?
Wow.
And tell me something you believe is key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of. And what's great about that is like, well, everybody's got like their little hack. And even if I've heard the same thing like 24 times, there was like 30 different variations of well, it's all about getting up in the morning and doing this, and somebody else said it like 1 degree to the right. And so what's amazing is as a collective, the human race, we're going to be all right. Like, we know how to get through stuff. We know how to accomplish things. We know how to survive. We know how to move the line forward collectively. We just all may do it a little bit different. And so that, like, my learning journey on interviewing that many entrepreneurs and asking the same question has been transformational for me. I've recorded over 1,500 podcast episodes in the last 10 years. And so I record 2 or 3 a week, and that's been transformational in my ability to just show up and have a conversation with somebody. It's gotten me out of being this shy, timid, awkward person that doesn't know how to answer a question. It's not that I'm all that smart or gifted. It's just that I had so many reps, that you just figure it out after a while. And so I'm actually the Do Zone. These things naturally shift. There's operational drift, if you will.
Yeah.
The Do Zone, we're rebranding to what we're calling Leverage Everything. So it's basically 1 degree to the right of productivity is leverage. And so it's basically the same show, but we're just kind of slightly changing the mood and the topic to more align with something that I'm really pursuing more of now, which is, how do I take the amount of effort that I'm putting in and get a multiple back?
Gotcha. Yeah. So if you'd asked me, what's the key to getting things done, I would have answered commitment. But what are some of the best answers you got?
I got to turn my light off because the battery's dying, but or else we'll get in like this weird like horror movie where it's flashing on me. So yeah, some of the best answers that I've gotten are stop planning. Like, that was interesting. Like, well, don't have a plan because you're not going to achieve it anyway. And have one specific goal. Like, that one stands out to me as like, basically abandon your to-do list. Like, you get up in the morning and you make this huge list of things. You're like, all right, man, I'm going to get all this done. But the reality is you typically don't. And the reality is 90% of the stuff on that list, irrelevant. What is that one thing that you really need to accomplish today? And just focus on that. Don't worry about your to-do list. That one stands out to me. I mean, I heard so many different ones, but that's one that like, whoa, and that's weird.
It's counterintuitive. I abandoned to-do list years ago. Everything goes on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, it's got a great chance of getting done. If it's not, you can have 15 different to-do lists on your desk, and it's which one do I go to next? And too many times I've seen, in terms of sales productivity, you start out your day with 15 things to do, and like you said, there's no way you're going to get to all 15. Most experts say pick those 6 most important things and work on those. But I'm with you. Focus on one thing at a time. There are 2 words I use with my sales coaching clients constantly, and they are focus and velocity. I believe that multitasking is a myth. It's been proven scientifically that your brain can't really do 2 things at the exact same nanosecond. So that doesn't work. So I say focus on one thing at a time and get that done, and then move on to the next thing. And the other thing is velocity, which most salespeople don't seem to work with. velocity really means speed in a particular direction. I'm just calling it speed. It's how quickly can I possibly get things done without making mistakes? Because most sellers, my experience, and I've observed tens of thousands of them over the last 50 years, we tend to operate as if, well, I'll do my best today, but there's always tomorrow. And for most of us, there is always tomorrow. But my belief is the more I can accomplish today, the more I can accomplish tomorrow. And I'm about, how do I get as much done as I possibly can? It's either work full out or stop working and go play. But I'm not about half-ass. There's no that really gets to me when I have clients who are like, well, yeah, there's plenty of time. No, there's not. In sales, we only have so many hours each week that we can actually do what we do, sell. 9 to 5, 8 to 6, something like that, 5 days a week. And can we be selling, at midnight? Yes, if we're selling products to topless bars, in which case, by the way, I'm happy to go on that sales call with people. But we've got so much time, so we've got to make the most of it. Focus and velocity every day. I think, am I correct? Do you do another podcast called Big Ticket Pros? Is that still around?
Yeah.
What's that one about?
My partner Anna does that mostly. I think I've recorded a few episodes, but Big Ticket Pros is for entrepreneurs who are trying to grow their business. They focus on selling expensive stuff and kind of talking about their strategies and the ways that they do that.
Gotcha.
Honestly, podcasts, I'll share this really quick before we wrap up. Podcasts are an amazing way for you to build really meaningful relationships because how else are we going to carve out 30 minutes, an hour of our time to just sit down and hang out and talk shop with people, because we're all busy and we're doing 1,000 different things. And if you really want to make actual deep connections with the type of people that you would do business with, or people that you would mastermind with, or that would be your colleagues, create a podcast where they can come on and talk about the things that are important to them and have that experience. And I know, Jeff, you know this because obviously you have one, but that is one of the hacks, the ultimate hacks of building an unlimited amount of relationships and getting people on your calendar to just spend some time getting to know you. No pressure. There's nothing to sell. Let's just talk and get to know each other, and let's record it and we'll publish it for the world to listen to.
Yeah.
I don't even care if anybody listens or not,
I never know if people, I do see this is actually streaming to 3 different places, and I can only see the one. I've got one person watching from one, but there could be more. And we know at least one person. My friend Regina Bonolo says, fantastic gems of wisdom. Thank you, Jeff and Josh. Josh, before we go, I don't have something I can share on screen, but if people are interested in talking to you about any of the services you provide, what's the best ways for them to reach you?
Yeah, sure. So I think the best way that I can help right now is if you're a busy entrepreneur and you're making sales and you're making momentum, you're not going from 0 to 1, but you're kind of stuck between 1 and 2, then I would say the best thing that I can do to help you is let's have a conversation to see if placing an operations generalist, which is the position that most people need if you're a solo entrepreneur, if you have a small team and you're kind of drowning in admin, you're overwhelmed, you need to be building systems, but you're just too busy doing this and that and 5 different things. Let's have a conversation to see if we can put some systems in place for you to lower the waterline so that you can look around and actually focus on growing your business instead of checking email and booking appointments and those sorts of things. And to do that, you can go to VAIQ.net.
VAIQ.net. Is there a phone number or an email address you want to give out?
No, just the website. That's the best place. All the contact info is on there.
Fair enough. Well, Josh, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us so generously today. And I'll end as I always do, gang. Please remember, sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Josh. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jeff.